An epic pirate battle awaits for us. This is a battle between the pirates and the sailors. It may look like a normal fight, but it's not. The pirates are clever and brutal. On the other hand, sailors are just normal people. If the pirates won, then all the sailors will be destroyed. So for them, it's do or die. But worse, the sailors are outnumbered. The cleverest pirates should win. Or will there be any twist that can change everything? Let's find out. It was early morning, and the air was freezing cold. The kind of cold that chills you right to your bones. The sky above was clear and bright, and the tops of the trees glowed softly in the sunrise. But down near the ground, where Long John Silver stood with his companion, a thick white mist from the swamp surrounded them. The scene looked eerie, and the damp, heavy air made the island feel like a dangerous, unhealthy place. Inside the stockade, Captain Smollett gave us a firm order. "Stay indoors, men. This is likely a trick." Silver's companion waved a white flag of truce while Silver himself stood calmly beside him, leaning on his crutch. The captain wasn't one to trust easily. Stepping onto the porch but keeping himself out of sight, he shouted, "Who goes there? Stand still or we'll fire." "Flag of truce," called out Silver in response. Captain Smollett turned back to us. "Doctor, watch the north side. Jim, take the east. Gray, handle the west. The rest of you, load your muskets and stay sharp. Move quickly but carefully." Then facing Silver again, the captain demanded, "What do you want with that flag of truce?" Silver didn't answer this time. Instead, his companion shouted back, "Captain Silver wants to come inside and talk terms." The captain let out a short laugh. "Captain Silver, is it? Never heard of him. My, how quickly people get promoted these days." Unbothered, Silver called back in his calm voice, "Aye, it's me. The men chose me captain after you abandoned them." He put a sharp emphasis on the word abandoned, as if he were accusing Captain Smollett of being a coward. "We want to talk terms, no tricks, no trouble. Just give me your word I can leave safely afterward, and I'll come in." The captain's response was cold and firm. "If you want to talk, come in. But if you try anything treacherous, you'll regret it. That's my promise." Silver's companion hesitated, clearly nervous, but Silver laughed and clapped the man on the back. "Don't worry," he said, as if the idea of danger were ridiculous. Silver threw his crutch over the stockade and began to climb the fence. It wasn't easy. His crutch in the steep, sandy slope made it difficult. But he struggled through, huffing and puffing, until he dropped down safely on our side. I was so curious about what was happening that I abandoned my post and crept closer to the captain. He sat on the porch, elbows on his knees, casually whistling a cheerful tune as Silver made his way toward him. Silver was dressed to impress, wearing a long blue coat with shiny brass buttons and a fine hat perched on his head. He saluted the captain politely and said, "Good morning, Captain." "You've got a fine little setup here." The captain raised his head and replied, "If you'd stayed an honest man, Silver, you might be sitting comfortably in the galley. But no, you chose mutiny and piracy. Now say what you came to say and be quick about it." Silver sat down on the sand with a grin. "Well now, Captain, you got us good last night. That was a clever move. Some of my men were shaken, I admit, but don't think it'll happen again. We'll be ready for you next time." Captain Smollett stayed calm. "What do you want, Silver?" he asked flatly. Silver leaned in, lowering his voice. "We want the treasure, and we know you have the map. Give us the chart and we'll let you live. You've got two choices. You can join us, and we'll drop you off safely after we've got the treasure. Or you can stay here, and we'll send a ship to pick you up later." "Fair enough, isn't it?" The captain stood up and stared Silver down. "Here's my answer. You and your men can surrender, unarmed, and I'll take you home to stand trial. If you refuse, I'll see to it that you all end up at the bottom of the sea. You're outnumbered. You can't sail the ship, and you don't stand a chance against us. Now get out of my sight." Silver's grin disappeared. His face twisted with anger, but no one offered to help him up. Growling under his breath, he dragged himself back to his crutch. As he left, he spat into the spring and shouted, "Laugh while you can, Captain. Before the hour's up, I'll smash this place to bits. Them that die'll be the lucky ones." With that, Silver climbed back over the stockade and disappeared into the trees. Once he was gone, the captain turned to us, his face like thunder. "Not one of you stayed at your post," he barked, "except Gray. Back to your stations, all of you, and don't let it happen again." We scrambled back to our positions, embarrassed and ashamed. The captain addressed us again, this time more calmly but with firm resolve. "Listen, men, we're outnumbered, but we have the advantage of shelter and discipline. If you do as I say, we can hold them off. Stay focused, stay strong, and we'll get through this." We quickly got back to work preparing for the battle to come. Muskets were loaded, positions were secured, and we waited for the enemy's next move. The sun climbed higher, and the morning mist disappeared, replaced by scorching heat. Sweat poured down our faces as we held our positions. Finally, the calm broke. Joyce, standing guard, spotted movement and fired the first shot. Almost instantly, gunfire erupted from the woods. Bullets thudded against the stockade walls, but none broke through. Then came the attack. A group of pirates climbed the fence, yelling as they charged toward us. Trelawney and Gray fired their muskets, taking down 3 of them, but 4 managed to get inside. The rest of the pirates stayed in the woods, shooting at us from cover. The fight had begun. The pirates attacked quickly, charging at the stockade with loud shouts. They fired their guns wildly, but their shots missed. In no time, 4 of them climbed up the mound and reached the stockade. Job Anderson, the pirates' leader, poked his head through one of the loopholes and bellowed, "At them! All hands! All hands!" His booming voice sent shivers down my spine. Meanwhile, another pirate yanked Hunter's musket right out of his hands, then struck him so hard that Hunter collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. A third pirate ran around the building, burst through the doorway and swung his cutlass straight at the doctor. The fight was chaotic. Only moments ago, we had been safe inside, firing at the pirates from cover. Now the tables had turned, the log house filled with thick smoke, and we could barely see. All I could hear were loud shouts, gunshots, and cries of pain. "Out, lads, out and fight them in the open! Grab your cutlasses!" shouted Captain Smollett. I grabbed a cutlass, barely noticing when someone accidentally slashed my hand in the rush. Holding the weapon tightly, I dashed outside into the sunlight. Outside, the doctor was chasing one of the pirates down the hill. Just as I looked, he struck the man across the face, knocking him to the ground. "Round the house, lads!" "Round the house," the captain called. His voice sounded stronger now, as if he believed we could win. I ran around the east side of the house, my cutlass raised. Suddenly, I came face to face with Job Anderson. He roared loudly, lifting his blade high above his head. The sunlight gleamed off the weapon as he prepared to strike. I didn't have time to think. I jumped to the side, but my foot slipped on the soft sand, and I tumbled down the hill. When I finally got to my feet, I saw that the fight was nearly over. Gray had followed close behind me and struck Anderson down before he could recover. Another pirate, who had been aiming his pistol through a loophole, was shot before he could fire. A third had been taken down by the doctor. The fourth, terrified, was climbing back over the stockade, abandoning his weapon. "Fire from the house!" shouted the doctor. "Back into cover!" But no one fired, and the last pirate managed to escape into the woods. The battle was over. 5 pirates were down, 4 inside the stockade and 1 outside. The rest had fled. We hurried back into the log house. The smoke was clearing, and we could finally see the cost of the fight. Hunter lay unconscious near his loophole, struck down by the pirate. Joyce, however, was dead, shot through the head. In the center of the room, the squire was helping Captain Smollett, who looked pale and injured. "The captain's wounded," said the squire grimly. "Have the pirates retreated?" the captain asked weakly. "All the ones who could," replied the doctor, "but 5 of them will never run again." Hearing this, the captain managed a small smile. 5? That's better odds than before. We were 7 against 19 at the start. Now it's 4-9. We can manage that. Later, we learned that the odds were even better. Another pirate, shot earlier by the squire aboard the ship, died that evening. That left only 8 mutineers. The pirates didn't return for the rest of the day. Not even a single shot from the woods. "They've had enough for today," said the captain. But the mood inside the stockade was somber. We had lost Joyce, and Hunter was barely clinging to life. His injuries were severe, and despite the doctor's best efforts, he passed away during the night. The captain's injuries were serious, but not life-threatening. One bullet had broken his shoulder blade and grazed his lung, while another tore through his leg. The doctor assured us he would recover, but he needed rest and could barely move. As for me, the cut on my hand was minor. The doctor patched it up and gave me a playful scolding for being careless. After dinner, the squire and the doctor sat with the captain, discussing something serious. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their conversation lasted a long time. Then just after noon, the doctor stood up, grabbed his pistols, a cutlass, and the treasure map, then crossed the palisade without saying a word. He disappeared into the trees, leaving the rest of us baffled. Gray and I stared after him, stunned. "Where's he going?" Gray asked. "He's got a plan," I replied. "I think he's gone to meet Ben Gunn." The heat inside the stockade was unbearable. The sun beat down on the sandy ground, and the smell of blood and death made me feel sick. As I cleaned the blockhouse and washed the dishes, I found myself wishing I could be anywhere else. Then an idea struck me. It was reckless, but I couldn't shake it. I decided to sneak out of the stockade and find Ben Gunn's hidden boat. I stuffed biscuits into my pockets, grabbed a pair of pistols and my powder horn, and slipped out when no one was watching. Over the stockade I went, disappearing into the cool shade of the trees before anyone could stop me. The woods were peaceful compared to the chaos of the stockade. The shade was cool, and I could hear birds singing as I made my way east toward the coast. Eventually, I reached the beach. The waves crashed against the shore, filling the air with their thunderous sound. After walking for a while, I spotted the white rock Ben Gunn had described. Beneath it, I found a small hollow hidden by thick bushes. Inside was Ben Gunn's boat. The boat was small and crudely made, covered with goat skin. It didn't look very sturdy, but it was light and portable, perfect for a secret escape. Finding the boat should have been enough, but I had a new idea, an even riskier one. I decided to wait until nightfall, sneak out to the pirates' ship, and cut it loose. Without their ship, the mutineers would have no way to escape the island. As the sun set and darkness fell, the island was swallowed by thick fog. It was the perfect night for my plan. I carried the boat to the water, wading through the swampy sand. With a deep breath, I set the small vessel afloat and prepared for the riskiest adventure of my life. What would you do if you found yourself alone, armed with nothing but a risky plan and a fragile boat? Jim is about to make the most dangerous gamble of his life, sneaking into the heart of enemy territory under the cover of night. Will his daring move turn the tide, or will it lead to disaster? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next part of this thrilling saga. Click on the playlist to explore more adventures and stay tuned, because the real danger is only just beginning.